Assalamu alaikum everyone. This is Khadija Rana. I have a background in HR and I've been hiring for multiple different roles and positions for the past 3 years. So this video is going to be all about crafting that first impression through a mere piece of paper. So every time you are applying for a job, you are required to share your CV. So what exactly should you put in there and what are some very common mistakes that we are all bound to make? This video is really going to help you if you're a beginner and you are just starting out on your job search. So you need to keep in mind what is completely not required while writing a CV and what is going to stand out in front of the recruiter. So without further ado, let's start the video and I'm going to be sharing 5 common CV writing mistakes. Let's start. Okay, so the first mistake that we are all bound to make is not mentioning your job title or profession in your CV. So when you are writing down your list of accomplishments and education, qualification, experiences, and everything that's in there, there's one thing that catches the recruiter's eye at just one glance, and that is which position have you applied for? Because it is very likely, and it happens that there are going to be multiple positions that they are hiring for, and it's going to be very difficult for them to figure out कि आपने किस position के लिए apply किया in that pool of CVs that they receive every day. Our inboxes are flooded with CVs, and it's so difficult to hunt down the right person for the right job. So, this is going to be a huge favor for the recruiter. So, right below where you mention your full name, please mention कि आपने कौन सी पोजीशन के लिए अप्लाई किया या आप किस फील्ड से हैं. फॉर एग्जांपल अगर आपने किसी graphic designing job के लिए किया तो do mention graphic designer. If you are working in web development, then mention software engineer. So जिस भी niche के अंदर जिस भी industry में आप काम करें, please do mention that. That's very important. All right. So the second mistake that people make very, very often, that is they give too much personal information in your CV. So there are certain things that your potential employer is not going to be interested in. So if you're applying locally, तो आपको अपनी nationality लिखने की ज़रूरत नहीं है. You can totally skip on that. You also do not need to mention your date of birth. I have seen this in many CVs, and maybe this is a pattern or a format. लेकिन अगर आप कोई गोरों का format use करेंगे ना तो उसमें आपको it's very likely that you wouldn't really see the date of birth. If you are, you know, uh, अगर कोई ऐसी रिक्वायरमेंट है कि जी आप 18 प्लस हो तो you can you know legally work in some platform, तो उधर आप mention करो तो it makes sense. But otherwise, if you are an adult and you're qualified enough, so it doesn't really matter. उस चीज को हम escape कर सकते हैं. Then people tend to mention their marital status in their CVs. Again, that is not required. Once you get hired and they gain that information from you to, provide you some sort of specific benefit, maybe an insurance for your spouse and children, then it makes sense. लेकिन initially CV के अंदर आप ये चीजें मत लिखें, ठीक है? All right. Also, it accounts for your home address. So please avoid giving your entire address in any CV क्योंकि किसी ने आपको post करके तो offer नहीं भिजवानी. So gone are those days. Yes, it might happen like government sector के अंदर yes अभी भी by post आपको offer letters आ रहे होते हैं. That's another domain. But if you're applying for a private job, then you can just mention the location. Like for example, you can say Gulberg, Lahore, that is more than enough. So if the recruiter wants to judge if you would be able to commute effectively to the workplace, उस चीज में आपको probably वो help out कर सकती है चीज, but otherwise you can totally skip on this. So number 3, irrelevant details. Again, I've mentioned a few personal things. इसके अंदर आप मैंने बहुत सीरीज में देखा है people mention their interests, their hobbies, and a lot of different things that make no sense, their language competency. So if you are again working locally and there is no as such requirement कि आपको फलां फलां language आती हो, तो I don't see any point. It's just a waste of space. So avoid it. अंग्रेजी उर्दू is very commonly understood कि पाकिस्तान में जो शख्स पला बड़ा और बड़ा हुआ और उसने अपनी तालीम हासिल की है, तो वो बायलिंगुअल ही होता है मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम। ट्राइलिंगुअल भी होते हैं, हम लोग अपनी रीजनल लैंग्वेजेस भी आ रही थी लाइक पंजाबी सराइकी, बट वर्क प्लेस के अंदर आपको पता है ऑफिशियली अंग्रेजी ज़बान है जो ज़्यादा इस्तेमाल होती है, एंड ऑफ कोर्स उर्दू के अंदर भी प्रोफिशिएंसी इज नेसेसरी फॉर लाइक general conversation, but professionally and officially English is good to go. So avoid that. Then hobbies, interests, I don't really see any point unless कि कोई ऐसी चीज है जो बहुत ज्यादा आपके रोल से linked है, like maybe you've been a debater and you've applied for a position which requires you to do a lot of public speaking, so perhaps ठीक है, उस तरह से आप कर सकते हो। और अगर आपका बिल्कुल beginner level है, you don't really have much to write about, but if you have enough experience, then I would say focus on your achievements and your skills more. Then comes one thing that puts me off in an instant, which is inconsistent font style. So in this day and age, there are so many CV making websites and platforms and so many tools available. So it's very easy to just take out a template and jot down all your information over there, and you can follow the style and the color, the scheme, and everything you can get ready made, ready to use. So please use that. Some people prefer to make it on Word by themselves. Okay, good enough, you can do that. But please, no more than two fonts. No more than two fonts. One for headings and one for the body, and that is about it. Please do not experiment. And colors ka bhi thoda sa dhyan rakhein, like blue, black. These are good to go colors, but don't make it too colorful. Then another thing, which is a big no. This should never happen professionally, whether you're writing an email or like every time you send out your CV to a recruiter, you should write a good body of email. अब आजकल के दौर में तो there's chat GPT, there's Bard AI, life is so much easier for all future applicants. So please use those, use spell checks, use Grammarly, and make sure that so that's the last point, and